So let's go. When you were at Troy University, right? And I love that because it's my name. My middle name's Troy.
Of course, it's Troy. Matches you.
And you paid your way through school.
I did.
You mentioned, but the first thing I want to ask is, even though after the fact you worked on computers and you were technical, and there wasn't a lot of females in that world doing that, and that's an awesome skill. When I think about like certain things that I'm grateful for, I'm grateful that I learned how to type. You know, in a typing class in like high school. And I'm also grateful I grew up in an era where you could take the backing off of a PC and see the motherboard, and like at the time you could like do your own maintenance. You know, you could build your own machine, and they become more and more sophisticated. And in fact, a lot of manufacturers, like, you can't even get into the guts anymore.
They don't want it. They seal it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you break the seal, then you lose you lose the integrity.
The same thing with like cars. They become so computerized you can't even fix them. You have to take them somewhere because they're going to download a patch probably to the computer that runs the car.
Yeah.
But were there other courses when, now that you think back, so you have the technical side, you know, and SEO is all about it has a programming background, and you understand how to create a user interface in the back end, and you know, maybe even making calls out to a database and setting up data and stuff like that. But do you also, when you talk about managing employees or customers and they call you and everything's hair's on fire, do you refer back to psychology or sociology or other courses, and you're like, you know what, I thought that'd be a big pile of waste of time back then, but I'm so glad that I have that knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, So I use, I guess somebody said to me one time, it's like, you sell without selling.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's just really calm in the atmosphere when there's people coming at you with different questions and different avenues, and it really all works the same way. So no matter what type of client that I have, because I have different industries that I work with, the platform pretty much is almost the same. The path is pretty much in the same direction. But when I get that call, or when they're trying to figure it out, I result back to what I learned, you know, is how to be relatable. How do I become that person for them, that support system? Because support was really important back then. You know, people would call in. When I was first out of college, I got a job with Lloyd's Computers, mm-hmm. and they were the only ones that had given me the opportunity to actually come in, and I was really the female tech. Along with all the guys that were there, and they taught me a lot of stuff. Like, they taught me networks and computers, and we built machines, and we did servers and Cat5s, and I have my own crimping tools. So there's,
really?
Yeah, I did. And so I learned a lot about customer service, being that person, that support for those people. So it was not just school, but also that beginning support in the very beginning that helped me be relatable to my client base that I have today. I am very straightforward and honest with them, and they know that. Mm-hmm. And I don't, cookie cut or anything, and I don't put a cloud over it. It's very clear directions for them.
Here, look to your right. Does this like bring back memories? Look at those machines. And that's probably like an old Pentium, or I think I paid $1,000 for my first. And it was like a Pentium 233, something like that.
So I had, wait, okay. I'm going to tell y'all something. I bought my first computer. That was the first time I ever had a charge card.
Oh, really?
Because I was in college, and I was paying my way, and I didn't have the money, and I needed a computer, and I didn't have a way to get a computer. So I actually got my first credit card to buy my first computer, because it was so expensive back then. It was, mm-hmm. But I remember dial-up. So I remember that first image coming through, and it was just like in segments. It was like ding, ding, it was like pieces of it coming through the dial-up, and that sound will never go away, right. But that I've built so much of that, those inner pieces of those computers. But that was the best way to learn.
Yeah.
That, to me, it was like, it's that ass. Oh yes,
that motherboard.
That's probably my computer right there. Yes, I built my own custom machine at one time. That's probably mine right there. So
how often does a customer come in when you were working at Lloyd's, and they think that's some super difficult problem, and it's like you just need a new fan, you need a new battery or something.
Well, we did a lot of like his business was connected with a lot of accounting. With accounting businesses, and so we would go out and do point of sale, accounting software and point of sale peripherals. So we set up the machines, the workstations, and then we network everything together. We would definitely be the support because we remember Y2K, right? So I was there when Y2K was starting, and that was one of the craziest years I've ever experienced because it took forever to export out data from the software because we had to upgrade. So we had to, not only did we have to build the computers, set them up, get the software installed, import the information, we had to turn around and teach these people how to use their own computers. So, because they didn't even know how to use a mouse. So I got that one phone call. I know it's funny, but I did get a phone call from somebody saying, Carla, my cup holder broke on my computer. And I said,
oh, it's the CD-ROM.
I said, excuse me? I said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. But it still brings back memories because, it's the, I'm sorry. What cup holder are you talking about in your computer? And she goes, well, that thing where at the top where it comes in and out, you push that button and it pulls it out. And
oh my gosh.
And I had to pause on the phone for a minute because I didn't want to laugh, because it was an older lady and I'm so sorry. But I had to go, ma'am, that's not a cup holder. That's where your CDs go. Oh, well, I thought that's where my cup belonged. She goes, we may need to replace that. Yes, that's going to be expensive.
She's spilling on it.
But it was, I think it was the old time rule. I don't know if the Saturday Night skit is funny to me, where the guy comes in there and he tells him, he's got a problem with his computer, and it's like, just move. Well, that was basically what we do. We tell you, get out of the way and let's just fix it, or hey, let's shut it down, because that was always let's shut it down, bring it back up, let's reboot.
I went to I worked for my sister as a travel agent, and this was like 1999. She had her own business up in the upstairs of her house, actually very similar to this room that we're sitting in, quite frankly. And I go out to a training because at the time Trans World Airlines, TWA, was around. I can't remember what happened. I don't know if they got bought or they went defunct, but anyway, I go out to learn how to use the system. And if you've ever seen a travel agent, if you've ever been a travel agent, they do a lot of typing. And they're basically typing into a mainframe.
Yeah.
And they still do that. They still will type lines and lines, and there's like these long commands that you type for the simplest
command prompt.
Yeah, it's like,
I remember that. I did a lot of that.
It was like 4PLF, which was like search everything for fares, and you would put in the city codes, and there was a lot of practical knowledge. A lot of
asterisks, dots.
Yeah, and then you would book travel just without a mouse and without an interface. It was crazy. So anyway, I go out to this, but at the same time, we were using computers. Like Windows 98 was out, 2000 was probably on its way. So people were now using computers on a regular basis. And we go to this training course, and at the first part of it, we're just going through a tutorial, and we're using our mouse. And there's this one lady who has to stop the class and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this." And rightfully so, the instructor's like, "Well, then you just need to not be in this course until you learn, because you're going to slow everybody down. If you can't basically just use a keyboard and a mouse, then I'm sorry."
Wow.
That has to be a prerequisite.
Right.
Right. Even if we're going to get into all of the nuts and bolts of it, it was still more of a training where it's just guiding us through a CBT or something,
Yeah.
But I just looked at her like, what planet did you come from?
Yeah.
And
well, I do remember there was this one case where I had to go down to, I think it's around Foley, and we were putting in new computers, and it was, and of course it was their point of sale software programs, and then integrating it into the accounting softwares, because that's what I did. And so when the guys didn't want to deal with the software, they would send me out. So, that was just bonus. That was extra commission work for me, right? So it was like, send Carla out. And I'm like, yes.
Why didn't they want to do it?
Because because it was that person-to-person relationship.
Oh.
They wanted to come in and set up the machines.
Introverted.
They wanted to walk out. Well, they were totally nerds. I mean, we were. I mean, nerds were not cool back then.
Yeah.
I mean, we're cool now.
Yeah.
Right? We're geeky, fun, nerdy people. I mean, come on. That's cool now. We're sexy. We're sexy nerd people.
Right.
But back then it was like, oh, you're a nerd. And so, kind of hid in the corner. So these guys were, in some ways or another, they wanted me to be the one to interface with people, train them on the softwares. And I had to go out and teach these older ladies how to use their point of sale software for the first time. They had to learn how to use the software, the mouse, the Microsoft program for it.
The printer.
The printer. Oh gosh, that's a whole nother story. I kid you not. And because you don't remember the first printers that came out, they were not exactly the smallest ones, and they were not fun. But when I taught them, I actually wrote them a step-by-step manual. Mm-hmm. Step 1, turn on your computer. Step 2, turn on the monitor. You know what I mean? It's like, it was those steps. And if I could teach them, I could teach anybody.
And if it doesn't come on, make sure it's plugged in.
Yes, please do not unplug the computer. Yeah. There was a lot of that. Oh, it was unplugged. Yes. So it was a lot. I have to say that was probably my favorite job besides my business. That was my favorite job, hands down. Lloyd was he was just a joy to be around. He taught me a lot, and he didn't care I was a female. He wanted me to learn, and he really kind of upped my game. I just did not know where my future was going at that time. I mean, you got to think way back, right? We didn't have cell phones, and we were cool if we had a beeper.
I know.
Maybe a bag phone.
So was this is while you were working at Lloyd's while you were at Troy University? And
No, I actually graduated.
Okay.